Welcome, everybody. I am Therese Fortin Barnes. I am an environmental toxins health coach and the head guru at the Green Living Gurus. And I'm so grateful that everybody has joined us here today on this broadcast. Today, I have a special guest here with me, B.D. Erickson from Missoula, Montana, and the owner of Static Inc. And Static Inc.'s desire is to empower people to conserve health, natural and financial resources during conservation's most important time in human history with high quality American made products. So BD is here with us today, and he is on a passionate crusade to spread awareness about the dangers of living with electrical pollution. His son developed electromagnetic hypersensitivity, and I think the letters are EHS, at a young age, and BD dedicated himself for several years to help his failing son. So in pursuit, he realized that like the water we drink and the air that we breathe, that we have the ability to filter electrical impurities. He quickly learned that tolerating electrical impurities are detrimental to our health and even could cause cancer. BD is here today to share with us how to shield ourselves from electrical pollution to simple and more complicated ways, but how to create healthier environments in our homes and learn about what is electrical pollution and how to protect yourself from EMFs. BD, thank you for joining me.
Therese, I'm happy to be here. My pleasure.
Yeah, so you have a long history. First of all, you were born and raised in Missoula. I looked up Missoula. I have to get there someday because I saw the mountains, I saw the water, I saw trout fishing, all these great things, outdoor environment. It's got to be beautiful. And you're born and raised. So your family has a history in the thermal industry. Let's explain that. Let's go to the beginning and how you got into this.
Okay. Yes. Missoula is beautiful. 3 blue ribbon trout streams flow through town. We have ski resorts that have ample snow that fill those rivers. And so they're great for rafting and fishing. It's a wonderful place to grow up. Absolutely. My family was in the renewable energy in my youth. Our homes not only had solar panels on them, but they had solar panels that came from our family's factory, a small town called Belt, Montana. We manufactured thermal solar panels in the late 70s to mid 80s. We were one of the largest American solar panel manufacturers west of the Mississippi. So it is something that's been, in my heart and mind and a part of my life for the majority of the journey of my being.
Great. I love it. And then, so tell us a little bit. Let's go electrical pollution 101. What is, so many people don't understand that electricity can pollute us in our environment.
Absolutely. So it's one of the sneaky parts of it. You can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, right? It's kind of like radon gas. You know that you don't want it. Carbon monoxide and some of these other things, you don't want them. We know they're real. We know they're measurable. We know they're detrimental, but because they're hard to identify, you might have a specialist come to your home or something else. E-pollution, electrosmog, dirty electricity, EMF, Wi-Fi, these other things fall into that similar category. You can't see them, smell them, taste them, but they are real. They're uncontestably measurable and identifiable. So all you really have to do is first become cognizant that they are a real thing and how these pollutants get into your environment. Then once you know that they're real and measurable, you can start asking some questions. Do I have it? How much do I have? If I have some, how much is too much? And if I find out that I have too much, now, Therese, what in the heck do I do to navigate or mitigate it?
Right. Good. So that's, as you were saying that, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't hear it, we just know that it's there. But the good thing is that there's ways to measure it as well. Now, tell me, it can affect your health. It can also potentially cause cancer. Let's talk about that a little, since I'm always getting people's homes detoxed from all the chemicals they have in the house, but the electrical detox is also important.
So let's go there. So you see power lines and the grass under power lines. I'm careful with words like always and never, because in reality, it seems like those are rare. I'm careful with, you know, so let's say you see power lines. How often is the grass underneath those lines degraded? It is, in my case, I've never, careful with that word, seen it bushier, right? Maybe it's the same. It's usually bushy less if you were inventing that word. So most people just cognitively, naturally would say to themselves, well, you wouldn't want a house right under the power lines. I mean, most people would just feel that, is it bad for you? I don't know, but I don't want my house under the power lines. That's a natural feeling that we have because something in our, internal radar says no. Is cell phone use bad for you? Well, do you want the cell tower on your house? No, you don't want it on your roof. Well, why not? Something in our internal dialogue says, no, I don't want that on my roof. So for most people, it's not really a question of whether or not it's bad. The question kind of comes down to how bad. And I tell people, like, do you want to smoke 3 packs of cigarettes a day? Well, no, you don't. Why not? Well, because there are definitely going to be health implications. Even if you just want to be fit and you want to have great lung capacity, maybe you're not afraid of getting cancer. There are other measurable things that inhaling smoke every day can do for you. Okay, so we don't want to smoke 3 packs a day. But Therese, when you were in college, if you smoked 1 cigarette, now come on, I think you're okay, right? Would you want to eat fast food every day? No, the saturated fats and things and the calories and it's processed, probably get plump. But a French fry now and then, I think you're going to be okay, right? So first of all, I want to establish that it's very well documented. I think these things are real, they're measurable, they're carcinogens, they're bad for you, period. So the next evolution of that would be, how do I know and where does it come from and how much? And so, I'm always very careful about what I say is bad for the human because the FDA, and I don't want to get in trouble, but we know some truths and I'll share them. Dairy is a huge business. We're talking about milk, cheese, butter, ice cream is delicious, yogurt, milk itself, right? So the big dairies, Marigold, Dairy Gold, the names, they have done substantial studies on the introduction of dirty electricity, EMF, and Wi-Fi to dairy cows. They don't like it. It's bad for their brain. Cows are very sensitive to it. Like a lot of folks that don't live in the country think that the way an electric fence works is this animal brushes up the electric fence. It shocks them. They don't like it. They learn. No, Therese, no dairy cow has ever been shocked by an electric fence. I'm saying never, right? Not naturally. They get within a few feet of it. They don't like it. They can feel it. In fact, if the dairy has stray voltage, they won't even step in a puddle. They're very sensitive to it. Now, their mood probably is less important to the dairy farmer than the production, quality, volume of their milk. And it is absolutely documented, negatively affected by this dirty electricity. Greenhouses, indoor grows, the big strawberry. I live in Montana. A lot of stuff is grown seasonally indoors, right? Because we don't have the weather for it. And so the size of your strawberry is going to be affected by dirty electricity. They've got great pictures of the plant growing towards the water source, towards the light or fresh air, and away from the electricity. So if you'll let nature be your guide at all, I know I'm not grass. I know I'm not a cow. I'm biological. So if you let nature be your guide at all, then these things have an effect on the biological. Now, 30 years ago, the environmental world was different. Like I didn't grow up. I don't think I'm old. I feel young, but I didn't grow up with cell phones. Like if you called your friend, you needed your friend to answer the phone, right? And if you're going to meet them, you just had to be where you were going to be because you're going to meet your pal. And then we had all these cell phones. So what's a cell phone? Well, it's anything with a battery. Teresa's direct current. You can't store alternating current. You can only store direct current. So your laptop, your phone, your tablet, your iPad, all these things are direct current. Why is that important? We live in an alternating current world. So all of your outlets in your home and everything is wired on alternating current. So direct current by itself is fine. Alternating current by itself is questionable. But when you mix these two, they don't mix well, you get an abnormality. And that abnormality is called dirty electricity. Dirty electricity is one of the attributes of this e-pollution. So e-pollution gets into your house a few ways. Number one, it comes from the utility and it's pumped right into your house. Not to take its shot at the utility. When the power leaves the dam, it's clean. But by the time it passes 100 car washes and beauty schools, gets to your house, it's dirty. Dirty electricity has electromagnetic fields. It has things that are harmful to the biological. Now we exacerbate that. We're plugging in our phones and plugging in our things, plugging in our lights, and we're exacerbating that one aspect of e-pollution, which is dirty electricity. And it's real and it's very easy to measure and it's bad for you. Another one of them, and interrupt me whenever you want because I do rant.
It's very informative.
Okay, so another part of it is the wireless communication. So we've all kind of agreed that, you know, even if we don't really fully understand how cell phones work, we don't want the cell tower on our roof. Well, why? Because that's sending and receiving signals. Well, your body, that's a field and that's a signal, and your human tissue is susceptible to it. We're some 80-90% water content. And then we're eating heavy metals and they're chemtrilling, whatever they're chemtrilling. And I've got aluminum now in me and I'm this wonderful water aluminum mix. Well, great. Guess what? You're an antenna. So the idea that all these waves are only going to land on your phone and not penetrate everything that they can pass through, that's naive to believe that. No, of course they're penetrating. Of course they're passing through you. So it's not just your phone and your tablet. It's everyone that lives in your home and your Wi-Fi and their Wi-Fi. And, you know, when you turn on your cell phone, you immediately see all these signals, that printer, their Wi-Fi, that Wi-Fi. But we've also got the direct communications of satellite, TV, Netflix, all this streaming content. And again, by itself, one or two of these things, we're resilient. Our biology is actually incredibly robust and strong, but there becomes a level that is toxic and is beyond your body's ability to repair, and you will start to have physical effects of this e-pollution.
So how do people know? How do they know they're living with it in their home?
Here's some interesting points on that. Some people can genuinely feel it. So my son, it affected him mentally very rapidly in a very detrimental way. Now, I live in the same home. I don't suffer those same things. My exposure level is probably very similar, but it doesn't manifest in me the same way. We have devices that will shield it. We have devices that will filter it. My customers are usually female, a little more sensitive to it. Female biology, I think, is a little more in tune to that than male biology. We get very frontal brained. Where we'll plug the device in, they can feel it. They say it feels quiet. Now, this is not a parlor trick. You can turn her around where she can't see you, and you can plug it in or unplug it where she wouldn't know what you've done, and she can feel it. And it's not like we've done this one or two times. We have 85,000 installed customers. They can feel it. So in some cases, the rarity is that you can personally feel dis-ease. I'm not sleeping well. I'm not getting good deep sleep, or I'm having good dreams and remembering my dreams in the morning. That's not something I'm experiencing. I might be irritable. My blood sugar might be raised. Dirty electricity raises blood sugar, period, proven beyond contestation. That is what it is. We know that that's the case. So diabetes is this really rapidly growing thing. We've got some things that when I was young, autism was exceedingly rare, right? 1 in 3,000. And now we know it is pandemic, right? It is, I think, 1 in 38 for males right now. It's some frightening number. Fibromyalgia, 25 years ago, we made fun of females, perhaps marginalized them because it was very hard to pinpoint. Guess what? It's overactive nerves. We know it's true. What's it coming from? It's the toxicity. Who knows? Diabetes. Man, when I was a little kid, I remember seeing a homeless person one time in a wheelchair and they're missing a leg in it. I did not like that as a child. That made my heart bled for that human being. I didn't like it. It scared me. And I remember being a really little boy holding my dad's hand. I said, well, what happened to him? He said, son, I think that was diabetes. And it just panicked me as a little kid. of diabetes. I didn't want to be in a wheelchair losing my leg. I wanted to help this person. So now we know type 2 diabetes is like number 4 or 5 on the list. It's this huge thing. So why are we in 2021 with all these things that were very on the fringe 35, 40 years ago, and now they're all pandemic? Come on, Therese, it is something. It is environmental. There is a toxicity out there. We have to identify it, right? We need to make people aware. So one of my passionate things is I don't need you to believe me. I need you to be aware. And once you're aware, you can make whatever cognizant decision, change whatever behaviors, take whatever action you want to empower yourself. My conscience is clear. At that point, I can say to people, hey, I have this beautiful, smart, capable, straight A student son who within 1 year could not leave his bedroom. So, maybe I'm wearing a foil hat to some, but I'll tell you what, if it's your kid, come on, man, if it's your kid, then that it will change your tune. And so I know what happened to me. I know what happened to my family. I know what I've experienced. And so if I can be a lighthouse at all to at least tell people, hey, this is real, look out for it and avoid it, then I think I've expanded my journey. It's part of my being here. We all love to help people. We all love to give somebody a hand. We all love to coach people that we love when we can. So this is an opportunity for me as a human, I believe, to share my experience. And the fact that I lead one of the most fabulous engineering teams in Western Montana. We have an all-star cast. We have the best meters. We have a great laboratory. We have a lot of case studies. And again, we have tens of thousands of customers who love the products. So we're certainly onto something.
I love your work environment there too. I did a little research. I just love how you recruit people. I love how you really treat everybody like family. Just on a side note, it's like the way that everybody should have in a work environment. And so I commend you for that. And that's part of who you are and helping people. And that's why your business is so successful too, because it's all about leaving this earth a better place, in my opinion. So thank you for that too. Now let's talk about, now everybody knows we have electrical pollution. Let's talk about some solutions and maybe some examples of what somebody can do to decrease the electrical pollution, some simple things and easy things for them to do on their own.
You got it. So one of the things that we do here a lot is we conduct tests and we read meters. So let's say that your phone is on. It's not in airplane mode. It's in normal functioning mode. So it is constantly talking to the cell tower. Hey, is there a text message there for me? Hey, is there a phone call coming for me? And so it puts off a certain level of reading, let's say. The minute you plug that guy in, that reading is exacerbated by about 20 times.
Wow.
So first of all, be cognizant that when something is charging and plugged in, a device, the numbers are higher. So the last thing that you want to do is plug it in and then sit it down right beside you and sit right inside the field zone of that thing while it's charging. I see it right now. Yep, you're very naughty. Now you know. Now you know. Don't charge that thing by your person. So, excuse me.
What about a portable battery?
Okay, so batteries are less because that's at least DC to DC. And so you'll actually note that a lot of times your phone or device will charge faster from a battery than it will from the wall. And that's because we're not trying to convert AC into DC. They're both DC, and that can happen more fluidly. And then the voltage is much lower, plugging in 120, a battery probably around 12 volts, maybe 9, depending on your device. That voltage is lower, so the fields are both going to be lower from that. Okay, so when you go into your bedroom at night, this is really a time to find peace. This is a time to get out of the front of your brain, to start shutting systems down, to heal, rest, repair. Get the devices out of your room.
Even if they're in airplane mode.
Get them out of your room or turn them off completely and do not charge them in your sleeping area. So these fields have a radius, a distance around them where they're most detrimental. And most of these fields will start to drop off a little bit after about 3 feet. So inside your 3 or 4 foot safety zone around your person is definitely where you're going to have the biggest impacts, where the fields are going to have the greatest magnitude. They're going to affect you the most, right? So a lot of times when something is turned off, it's not really off, it's in standby. The minute you point the remote at it, it's back to life. The minute you request something of it or speak to it nowadays, it's back to life. So it was never off. It just didn't have its screen on or something. Number 2, turn off your Wi-Fi at night. Do not leave your Wi-Fi on at night. So nowadays you can get routers and boosters that have an on-off button, and you can turn them off. So when you want to have connectivity and you want to have all that stuff, great, connect out. I do. Go nuts. Turn on your Wi-Fi, hardwire if you can, whenever you can, connect to the Ethernet via hardline. When you need it wireless, do it, but don't live in it. Don't just bathe in this stuff. When you're using your device, have it on, all these things. When you're not using Wi-Fi or things specifically, turn them off, power them down, maybe even consider unplugging them. I know it's very inconvenient. Being healthy is inconvenient. So we run 3 miles a day and eat green and do all the stuff we do. Health is inconvenient. Sorry, that's right.
You can put it on a timer.
You can put them on a timer. You can put them on a timer. You can turn them off, and then you will start sleeping better. So what happens is some people, they get the devices out of the room, turn off the Wi-Fi. The first 2 nights aren't better. They're actually detoxing a little bit because their body has been used now to this certain state. And it might be night 3 or night 4. Here's how you'll know. You're going to have really lucid dreams. You're going to remember them in the morning. It's very odd. It's like a lot of us used to remember our dreams a lot, but maybe you haven't had a good dream that we've remembered in some time. That's one aspect of it. Another thing is these signals, let's say, so we just talked about the ones I can control. I can control my phone. I can control my TV. I can control my Wi-Fi. Those are inside my control. So I take that action. Didn't cost me anything and was really not that inconvenient, because if you're Googling at 2 a.m. in the morning, you're not really sleeping that well anyway. God love you if you're on a normal work schedule, right? These are the things I can control. What about my neighbors? What about maybe I have a smart meter, an electrical meter on my home that's a smart meter? Maybe I'm not far from a cell tower. So there's some other things that we can start to do now, maybe with some shielding that will block or catch those waves so that each one of them isn't penetrating my body. And we make some stuff. It's about $100. It's kind of expensive. Is that expensive or cheap? It's relative. But you can put that where the signal is coming in. You can block it. You can also watch our YouTube videos. We show you how to make them, man, with aluminum foil. It's actually, they're pretty darn effective, right? And what's interesting about these is, like, for a shield, for my mind, when I envision a shield, I envision some kind of a warrior, and he holds his shield up and then a sword bounces off it, right? Or arrows bounce off it. It blocks something. That's not really how this shielding works. This shielding works more like, imagine wearing a baseball mitt and catching a ball. It's less reflective and more absorptive. So it takes these fields and these waves and these frequencies, blocks them by catching them, and then puts them on the electrical system. They have to be plugged in. They have to be grounded to really be effective. One of the ones we sell, you put it in your bed. And again, you can make this stuff at home. $20 at the Home Depot, you can make it. So you lift up your mattress and put it in between your box spring and your mattress and plug it in. And now you're not the antenna laying in your bed. You're not the path of least resistance. You're not the e-pollution and EMF sponge now. Something else can be that's not biological and is certainly more robust to fields and things. So I think the first part, awareness, hey, this stuff's not really good for me. So then how do I navigate that in my everyday world? By managing our devices on or off. Are they charging? How close to me? Are they in my sleeping area? And so a field, so field has 2 main attributes. Frequency has 2 main things. Number 1, how intense it is. So I'm going to punch in the arm. How hard am I punching you, or how light? That's the intensity. And the second is the frequency. How often is it happening? So frequency is how often an event occurs. So you imagine sitting on the shore of a lake, the waves are coming in, and they're crashing consistently, right? Now you're in Hawaii, and this beautiful wave seems to suck the water out for half a block, and it builds this big, huge wave, and then it crashes. The wave is bigger, so it has more intensity, and its frequency is slower because it happens less frequently, right? So waves on the water are a perfect illustration because they have a size or an intensity, how hard they crash, and then how frequently they crash. So if I'm going to, hit my hand like this, it's two things. How hard do I hit it and how often do I do it? Now, if you do it in the same spot, even for a couple of seconds, wherever that's on your body, that's going to start to get sore. But now let's say, Therese, I'm moving it around. Well, that's a massage. That feels lovely. I'm charging you $45 an hour now, right? So when I'm stationary, then that field is hitting me in the exact same spot. So where you work, where you relax or maybe watch the boob tube or whatever, do your reading, and where you do your sleeping, these are the most important places to combat and lessen e-pollution, because as you are a stationary human, you're more susceptible to the negative effects of them. So, okay, we've learned that they're real. We want to shut down and turn off our things, especially now in those areas where our body is at rest. And then ultimately, if maybe we've got a smart meter or the cell towers pointing right at our house, maybe now we have to actually do something in creating some kind of a field shield to lessen the effects of the penetration of our biological. And those things right there, if you believe anything that I've just said, and I guarantee you this, I sure believe it. Whether it's true or not, boy, I sure believe it. I'm not a phony baloney. You can drastically lessen the effect on your biology. And as a result, you should have superior health.
I love it. I agree with all of that you said, and I love how you explained it all. I'm curious about one thing. I know you said turn your phone off at night. I know people will ask, but is airplane mode different than turning it off because it's still on, yet it's still getting the signal? How do you know if that's
I do know.
okay?
And airplane mode is a great step. Yay! Whoever
Okay.
told you to put it in airplane mode was being a friend, and it's a step. Any device that's still on is still active. It's still going to have an electromagnetic field. So let's say you're going to put it in the bed with you. Do not let little kids put their device in their bed, or you're going to put it by your head. Airplane mode's not enough. If it's
Okay.
in the other room, it's on airplane mode. That's great. If it's by your physical person, let's shut it all the way down. And for God's sakes, let's not have it charging. And that's really, the most important things. How close to my physical being and whether or not it's charging. So if you really need to leave it on in airplane mode because you're waiting for something, it's your alarm clock, whatever else, first of all, get yourself a digital alarm clock that runs on 2C batteries and does not plug in. That's one of the best things you can do for your room. But secondly, if you really have to have it on, you're waiting for something important, it's your alarm clock, then just get it away from your person. Don't have it be where you can just put your paw on it, because that field is affecting you, damagingly so.
So I'm sure you are too. I'm so concerned with all these kids with cell phones and sleeping with them underneath their pillows
Yeah.
and charging them, because
Yes.
I've spoken to a few people before. And believe me, I charge mine next to my bed. I'm not going to anymore in airplane mode. So maybe I'll get better night's sleep. But the children and their developing organs, I can't even imagine, because we don't even know what the effects are. I mean, cell phones on children's brain development. So I don't know if you can speak to that at all, or is that pretty much in the same line with what you were just saying?
So a Swedish study done on EMF recorded the radiation from cell towers, cell phones, and it says it penetrates the brain of the child more easily and more thoroughly than that of an adult. So that is a direct quote from an EMF study done by a Swedish firm. And why exactly, I don't remember, but they are more susceptible to it. And of course, anything that's developing is naturally going to be more potentially affected by something is not developing, right? If something
Right.
while it's developing is more crucial. And so we have these little kids, they love their device and they're a great babysitter, unfortunately, right? So
Right.
you end up with little person having it right in their bed, so it's right by them. They don't turn it off. They don't Wi-Fi. They're smart. They want it charged. They want all these things, and it is really damaging and potentially has terrible negative health effects on little kids. And again, we're only a half a decade into little kids sleeping with devices. We're really not that far, and so there's always this lag, right? I tell people, in 1914, GIs got cigarettes in their kit. I've seen TV commercials from even the 50s where the doctor suggests the pregnant mom smokes, right? Where every building is made of asbestos, or it was the number one building supply until like 1975. It was an incredible worldwide building use. It was later in the 70s that we knew about asbestos and mesothelioma, right?
Mhm.
These things are beyond contestation. How about the PBA plastic and the water leach and the contaminants that get in from the plastic? And did they fix that? I don't think so. It's the ruling on the new stuff, what it does to hormones is incredible. Rome delivered water through an architectural engineering marvel, but it was lead. They didn't know right away. There's these lags where, you know, did the Roman engineers want to give everyone lead poisoning? They did not. It was not sinister. They didn't know, right? Did the plastic in babies' chew toys? Did they want to poison babies? I believe they did not. The lead in the paint on the baby's crib, where the baby loves to suck, and they just put everything in their mouth and they suck the paint off the crib. Was that designed to kill children? I don't believe so. I believe that we race into things as human beings, like the technological era, and we just race in because we love it, or it's convenient, or it's cheap, or it's effective, or whatever else. Then we've got this lag, and then guess what? It's killing people. And so it'll be interesting, horrific potentially, to see in the next 15 or 20 years what sleeping with devices has done to all these beautiful little human creatures.
Right. It really scares me. So this is a great lesson, and I will push it out there about what you taught us here today for sure. I'm curious, one last question, unless you have more you want to add. You do have a device, because I have devices that I go in people's homes and I can measure the air quality, and it can
Okay.
show you the formaldehyde and the VOCs and other particle matters. And I love it because it really is amazing what it can show, because obviously you can't smell typically poisons and toxic chemicals. Similar, you have something similar too, right? That can measure the EMFs. Am I right on that?
You are. So just like you have a meter for the Vox and the Knox, right? We don't want that. And you can't see it, but boy, when you see it on the meter, you want to take action. We have line meters that you plug in, and they'll read the amount of dirty electricity and interference that you have on your electrical system. And what happens? Your electrical system is an antenna. So when you and I were young, we're probably similar age, where you're kicking butt down the road, you listen to the radio, you get FM in town. Once you get out in the woods, you got to switch to AM, right? And then ultimately you lose that, right? So that was a 2 or 3 foot piece of aluminum on the hood of your car as an antenna. Your wiring in your home is a half a mile of high quality copper. That's not it's high quality copper. You're living in a super antenna. So all these things that are pointing at you and everything that you're doing, one place to get a reading from that is your wiring. So it kind of gives you a macro look in a micro thing, your outlet, right? So a plug-in line meter, yeah, we make them. Other people make them. You don't have to buy ours. Ours is great. Several people make them. They'll do the job. I don't care who you buy, unless it's for the most part, the top 4 or 5 brands that you will see are going to do a great job. I don't just plug my own stuff. Other ones work. And we have EMF meters that are handheld for the electric field and the magnetic field, so that you can see, sure enough, my device is putting off this field. Sure, my computer's doing it. When I plug them in, wow, old BD was right. And, here I can see where the cell tower is coming in. So yes, just like the Vox and Knox meter is very similar, just looking for something different. you can, and maybe you'll luck out. Maybe you'll plug it in and yours is low, and you have the meter and yours is low and you spent $200 on meters. What a friggin' blessing. God bless. Give them to a friend. You have absolutely won the lottery on that one. Good for you. If your numbers are high, well, great. Now at least you've been made aware. You're smart. You can start doing the things that we talked about. And oftentimes, by simply changing your lighting, turning off some devices and things like that, you can get the numbers down to a reasonable level. And if not, if you still can't, that's when you go to staticshield.com. That's when you start spending some money.
StaticUSA.com, isn't it?
So we have both. So Static USA, staticusa.com is educational.
Oh, okay.
It's educational. It's nothing to buy. It's educational. We've got great videos. You've got
Awesome.
PhDs and professors and guys you can watch the great videos. If you choose to take some action and needed some kind of a filtering device, then staticshield.com is our store.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I wanted to plug that. I mean, definitely it's a good resource for anybody to have, and I'll put it in the show notes as well. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so. It's a great subject matter. I really appreciate being on here. I think that was a great, level 1 introductory course for the average person becoming more cognizant to the biological world.
Well, you changed my ways of me charging my phone. Believe me, I've always worried about it being by the bed. I thought it was okay in airplane mode, but it's not. So it will be in the bathroom, at least 3 feet away, behind another wall. And I'll let you know how my sleep goes, because I usually I'm a little restless, and that's probably why. So it might change some things. So BD, thanks so much. Okay, what does BD stand for?
I never tell on the first date, Therese.
All right, I'll get that out of you on the second.
Have me back and we'll get there.